Good morning, everyone. My name's Samantha. I'm teaching you this morning about car accidents in Oman. As you can see, this is a very important issue in Omani society today because the numbers of people who lose their lives on Omani roads are frightening. The statistics are very high. So first of all, we're going to have a look at some of the statistics. We're looking at the causes of car accidents, what are the solutions. We're going to look at an awareness-raising campaign, and then we'll see a short video before we conclude. First of all, let's look at the statistics. There are various types of accidents, as you can see from this table with two columns. The right-hand column looks at the types of accidents. Collisions means hitting something. Collision with a fixed object, such as a tree or a building, something that's stationary. Overturn, that's when the vehicle turns over. Hitting pedestrians being people who are walking on the street, and also hitting animals. We can see here that the highest number of accidents relate to collisions, and in total almost 8,000 accidents, which is a frightening statistic. Next, let's look at accidents by gender. We can see that the deaths relate to males with 87%, while females are only 13%. Now, there could be various reasons for this data. It could be that there are less female drivers than male drivers. It could be that males take more risks than females. We don't have anything to support this in this presentation. Also, we can see the number of injuries sustained during accidents is almost 3 times as high for males as for females. Deaths for males is higher than injuries, whereas deaths for females is about half the number of injuries. So perhaps this indicates that females drive at a slower speed when they have accidents. Although there might be injury, there's less likelihood that they'll be killed. The next table shows the different governorates in Oman and the number of injuries, deaths and accidents for each one. Muscat is the highest, and we could say that the reason for this is because there's a much higher population in this governorate. We go down, Musandam has only 4 deaths, which is perhaps because it's a smaller isolated area with a much smaller population. The second highest we're looking at is Ad-Dakhliya. Again, this could relate to the population. But overall, if we look at the statistics, the number of injuries is almost 11,500, with over 1,000 deaths and a total of 7,719 accidents. There are more injuries than accidents because obviously there are more people than one in a car, and so some of the accidents there might be 4 or 5 people in a vehicle, which could incur 1 or 2 deaths and several injuries. Now let's look at the difference over the time period from 2009 to 2010. The statistics show that there were 802 deaths. However, in the next period from 2010 to 2011, the number of deaths increased by 200. So that's an incredible increase. Again, with injuries, the figures went up from 9,705 to almost 11,500. That's an increase of 1,711. So accidents again increased by 600. So just within 1 year, the number of accidents, deaths and injuries has increased. Perhaps this is because of increased number of cars on the roads. It could be that the roads are deteriorating. It could be that people aren't being trained well in their jobs, in their driving ability. And it may have something to do with increased use of technology on the roads, but we will look at those features further on. Here we go, causes of car accidents, speed. Now, that is a major problem. I think a lot of people think driving fast is an effective way to get somewhere quickly, but it's much better to arrive late and arrive safe than not to arrive at all because you've been killed by driving too fast. Also, it's harder to control a vehicle if you're driving fast, making sudden turns, or if something comes out from the side, an animal or a person or another vehicle. It's very hard to correct your manoeuvre without losing control of your car. Statistics show that as you increase the speed that you're driving at, it increases the likelihood that you will kill a pedestrian if you hit them. I think it's something like if you hit a pedestrian at 20 kilometres an hour, there's a 50% chance that they will survive. But if you hit them at 30 kilometres an hour, it's like a 10% chance they will survive. So even at that speed, it can do incredible damage. So you can imagine if people are going above the speed limit and they hit somebody or something, there's very little chance of survival. Just think yourself, if you walk into a wall, you're probably doing only 1 or 2 kilometres an hour, but the damage you could do yourself if you didn't put your hands up to protect you. And then imagine a car hitting something that's stationary. So yeah, speed is one of the biggest killers. Neglect. Now, negligence is something that you can be responsible for, as well as speed, but negligence means that you're focused on what you're doing. Driving a car isn't a toy, it's a large machine, and you have to control the machine. If you're texting or you're talking on the phone, you're not focusing on what you're doing, then you can lose your concentration. You're focusing on the message, you're engaged in what the response is going to be, and then suddenly you look up, but it's too late. You may as well be driving with a blindfold on, because basically you're not looking at the road. And that instant when you're looking away could be the instant that a child runs out chasing a ball on the road, or a camel walks across and you hit it, and that's the end of the camel and the end of you. You know, if you need to take a call or make a message, pull over to the side of the road. That's common sense. Don't do two things at the same time when you're in charge of a large piece of fast machinery. Fatigue, yes. In Oman, we often travel large distances between cities, and at the end of the day, people are tired, they're easily distracted, and they might feel, oh, it's only an hour and I'll be home. But in that hour, with the sun beating down, the sun in your eyes, it's easy to get very tired. And when that happens, all you need to do is drop off to sleep for a few seconds, and you can run off the road and injure yourself. If you're feeling tired, pull over to the side of the road, get out of the car, walk around, drink some water, refresh yourself for 5 or 10 minutes, then get back in the car and continue your journey. If you're tired before you begin the journey, don't go. Have a sleep for a while. Go later or go the next day. It's better to arrive late than never to arrive at all. Drunk driving. Fortunately in Oman, majority of people don't drink alcohol. So drink driving is a smaller problem here, but it is a very dangerous problem, because just as texting takes your focus away from the road, alcohol can impair your judgment so that you don't make wise decisions, you don't react quickly, and you don't respond to things that are happening in the car. And it can be another terrible cause for accidents. Overtaking. Sometimes people are very impatient. There's a slow vehicle in front and they think, oh, I'll just overtake it and I'll be fast on my way. But they don't think ahead of what's coming up on the road. Is there a bend in the road? Are we coming up to a hill? They don't consider what's coming over the rise from the other direction and how fast that other car is going. It's frightening sometimes to see people taking dangerous risks when for another 5 minutes of waiting they could overtake at a safe part of the road. So yes, overtaking not only endangers the life of the driver, but the lives of the people in the oncoming vehicle and the other people in the stream of traffic, because when those cars hit and they spin out of control, then a lot of lives can be lost. Weather conditions. In Oman, we know that if there's sudden heavy rain, the wadis can fill and the roads aren't built particularly well for draining the water off quickly, so large pools of water form. If you hit those pools of water doing any speed, then the car can easily aquaplane, which sort of means glide across the water and off the road and into a ditch. So very important when weather conditions are bad to consider if you really need to be travelling, and if you really must, then to drive slowly and carefully and stay away from deep water, which might be moving fast and could take the car and wash it away. Another point is defects of the vehicle and the road. So if you're a good driver, you should maintain your vehicle. They cost a lot of money, so you should care for them, look for their upkeep, have them serviced regularly, check the oil and water, check the tyres. And if you're travelling on roads that you don't know, go slowly so you can see if there are potholes in the road or sharp bends in the road. You need to be alert and careful with yourself and your family. And improper acts, sometimes people like to have more power on the road. So rather than wait in a long queue, they will overtake many cars in a dangerous fashion if they're waiting, say, at the traffic lights, and then try and pull in suddenly. This is disrespectful to the other drivers, it's dangerous, and it can also cause road rage, which means the drivers are angry with your actions, and this can cause dangerous mistakes to be made. Now let's look at some ways to avoid car accidents. Of course, we should follow traffic rules. So when you go to a driving school, you have to pass an exam, you have to know traffic rules, you have to understand the reason for these rules and why they're important for us to follow. You should always wear a seatbelt. Don't say it spoils my dish dasher or my abaya. This can save your life. If you hit the brakes suddenly, you'll fly forward and you'll just go straight into the steering wheel, or your passenger could go through the window. If there are children in the back, they can go flying out past you, through the windscreen in front. Seatbelts are put there for your safety, so it's really important to use them. If you have little brothers and sisters, make sure that they always have a seatbelt on when you're driving. Be a considerate driver. Treat others as you would want them to treat you. If someone needs to come in and they're indicating, let them in. And in other situations, people will do the same for you. That's part of Omani society, being considerate and thoughtful and respectful of others. Please bring it onto the road as well. Maintaining a constant speed limit. It's important that you obey the speed limits. If the speed limit is low, it's there for a reason. Maybe there are children in this area, maybe there's a dangerous bend in the road, so you should follow the advice. Also, on the expressway where it's 120, if you travel at 40 or 50 in the wrong lane, you're going to cause a backlog of traffic and you're going to make other drivers angry and frustrated and cause them to make bad decisions. So it's important that you follow the speed limit. Make sure your mirrors are positioned correctly so that you have good visibility both from your side mirrors and your rear vision mirror, and use them. You should always be looking, checking what's behind you and what's beside you. And when you're coming up to roundabouts and intersections, don't race through without looking. That's a sure way to have an accident. Take your time, look, and judge the distance carefully. So, useful tips: don't use your cell phone when you're driving for calls or texting. If you need to take the call, pull over. Make sure you maintain your car with good servicing and check that the tyres and everything is good. And if possible, avoid driving in dangerous conditions, such as unknown roads at night where there's no lights, or when there's bad weather conditions. There's an awareness raising campaign through BlackBerry. You should look at this and learn more about it. There are also volunteers with the heart of the community, which is trying to raise awareness of these problems, and the aim of the campaign is to reduce the number of accidents on the road, making people aware of how important it is to drive safely. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, please ask now. Now I press the green button. The red is stop. Yeah. Are you sure the red is stop?
Stop.
I thought this one is stop.
Yeah. Oh,
This one?
I'm sorry. This is so